Hello and welcome back to the Handy Outdoorsman. Today we're in the garage and I'm going to be working on my 1983 Honda Big Red. This is a 200cc ATC. I've owned it for about 12 years and haven't done much to it other than some spark plug cleaning once in a while and just the regular maintenance on it. I'm at the point now where I used it about 7 months ago during the hunting season. Worked just fine, and it sat there for that long, 7 months, and now it won't start. Now I personally believe that it's going to be a carburetor issue with the ethanol that's in gas today that wasn't around or prevalent when these machines were made, so I think that's where it's going to be. Now I will do my due diligence in making sure that I got spark and making sure that the gas flows. I don't have any blockage going to the carburetor, so I'll do all of those steps as I take the bike apart. So this is just going to be a video on how to clean a carburetor on a Honda Big Red, specifically a 1983 version. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So the spark plug is on the other side of the engine where I was just sitting, and so we're going to pull this cap off. And the first thing you'll notice is that the spark plug is a little bit different than you would see on a truck or a car. There's no cap on it. So my tester, when I go to insert it into the spark plug wire, won't snap in like it normally would. So I'm going to have to hold that while I pull the start cord to see if I have any spark. So it might be a little difficult camera angle here while I do that, but we definitely want to, first thing we want to do is check for spark. So let me get set up for that so I can show you that. Alright, so we definitely have spark here, so that's not the issue. It is going to be the carburetor, which is right down here. Let me go on the other side where the lighting is a little better and show you where that's at. So the carburetor is right below the gas tank and right in front of the seat. And it's right back here. Hopefully you can see that. To get to this so that I can take it off and drain the gas tank and everything, I'm going to go ahead and take the seat off. And then once you take the seat off, there is a 10mm bolt here. We'll loosen this up. I've already gotten it loose. Okay, we'll set it down in here for now. And then here you've got your, I don't know if we can pick this up. Let me see if we can do it this way. We've got the shut off for the gas tank. And when you swing the switch this way, it turns the gas on, and when you swing it this way, it turns it off, and then when you swing it all the way up, it's in reserve. So it's going to take that bottom half of the tank. So we're going to put it in the off position for right now. And there's a hose that comes from this switch from the gas tank down to the carburetor. You should be able to just grab that and wiggle it loose just like this. Got a little gas in the line, and then now that that is loose, should be able to come back here and just lift up on the tank just like that, and there you go. And now the tank is removed. So let's take this out of the way. Alright, so now that we've removed the gas tank, and this was the feed that was feeding into the shutoff valve, and I didn't see it before, but I see right here I've got a fuel filter of some type. I will check that to make sure that I've got flow that goes into the carburetor and that this is not blocked. And then a little better view of the carburetor now that the tank's off. This cable right here is my choke. So when I pull the choke, that's where it's connected at right there, and that just slides out of, you just push this up a little bit, and then that cable should pop out. and then we'll come up here and loosen this right here, and this is where our throttle cable goes down into the carburetor, and then we'll loosen this. Now when you loosen this, there is a spring inside here and a sleeve. That sleeve needs to go back in a certain way. You can't just put it back in. It's got to go in there, and it's kind of hard to see down in here, but there's a little knob right here, and that sleeve's got a slot in it, and I'll show it to you in a minute. And that's got to fit right over this knob so that it goes back into the same place. But we'll go ahead and take that off, and then we should be able to loosen up the carburetor from the engine block and take it out. So now that we've gotten the throttle cable removed and the choke, the next thing we need to do is loosen up the dust cover here. And this is the air filter that the back of the carburetor is connected to. Now this just pulls right out just like this, and we'll clean that here in a little bit. But right up in here is the air intake for the carburetor. There is a bracket or a hose clamp that's on the bottom side of this. Very difficult to get the camera in. We're going to need to loosen that, and then we need to take off these two 10mm bolts right here that connect the carburetor to the engine. And once we do those two things, then we'll wiggle the carburetor out of where it's located. It's a bit of a trick because it's in the air intake back here where the air is, and you gotta get it out of there, so you gotta almost twist it loose. There it goes. All right. So now what I have is the carburetor's out. This is my input into the carburetor. This is that fuel filter I told you I discovered. This is a drain hose for it, and there's one down at the bottom that goes through the chassis. One thing I did not get on camera is I had to take off my choke cable. This is a holder for it. I couldn't get it out without taking that off. So I put the bracket back on so I wouldn't lose it. All right, let's take this to the bench and take this apart and give this a good cleaning. All right, I've got this on my workbench, and now what I want to do is start taking some of the parts off. And so the first thing I want to take off is the bottom drain hose, and that should just snap right off. We'll take that off. The next thing I want to take off is the side drain, and we'll go ahead and take a pair of needle nose pliers down in here, loosen that up, and that just slides right off as well. Okay, next I want to take off the hose where the fuel line that goes in, so the input for the fuel line. I should just unscrew just like that. So we've gotten our three hoses off. Now the next thing I want to go ahead and do is take off the bracket here that holds the choke. So we'll take that off next. Okay, so that should just come off real easy. Just like so. And then that'll come right off. I'm going to put that screw back. I don't want to lose it, but we'll set that aside. And so you can see here, this is what the choke does. Now we do have an O-ring here, a rubber gasket. We'll need to take that off here in a second. All right, so let's go ahead and turn this upside down, and then we'll have some more fuel come out. Grab my paper towel here and just kind of soak that up a little bit. Sorry about that. Next thing I want to do is take off, there's 3 screws on the bottom that holds the bottom bowl on. We're going to take those off next. screwdriver. Put those three aside, and now this bottom bowl should come off. Let me make sure I don't have anything else that's holding it on. This is one of the jets here, but the bowl goes around that, so that's on there pretty good. All right, I don't think that there's anything else I need to take off for this bowl here to come off. So what we're going to do is there we go. Okay, open that up. And as you can see right here, you can see dirt inside the carburetor. So that tells me that possibly we've got some jets that are plugged up. But you can see right here, this is a big chunk of something, not sure what, but we definitely need to clean this. So again, I'm thinking that's what the problem was. All right, so let me go ahead and take this over and pour out the remaining gas that's in here. All right, so we'll set that aside. Now this here is the float, as you can see right here, and how that comes out is there's a pin that goes straight across, and all we need to do is either push through one side or the other, and then you should be able to take that float right out. So let's see if we can grab that. Might have to grab some pliers here, and that should pull out just like that. We'll set that aside, and then now when you pull this out, there's your float, and on the bottom side is your, okay, we want to inspect that, make sure that it's good. Look at this, and that just kind of hangs on there. So our float, we'll set that aside, okay, along with our needle. All right, next thing we want to do is take off the bonnet. So we'll take that off, set it aside. Now this here is, I think, a 6mm, and we just want to take that out. There's a jet on top, so let me get a flathead screwdriver. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and just put that in the top, and then crank this out. Okay, and there's little holes in here that hopefully you can try and hopefully focus. No, so there's little holes in here, and you should be able to see through that if you don't have any blockage. I've got plenty of fucking blockage. Okay, and then we'll need to take this off right here. And we'll set that aside. Okay. Next, we want to take off our we want to unscrew that. Next we have And so we want to put this back in the same position that it is today. So we want to count the number of turns it's going to take to push it all the way down until it seats. So let's just count the turns. There's a half. There's 1 and a quarter. Not even a quarter, an eighth. 1 and an eighth. So if I take this and just move it to here, that would be a half, that would be 1, and that's where it was. Let me write that down. 1 and an eighth. I got it on video, so I don't need to. Okay, so now we're just going to finish taking this out. Okay. We'll take this out. Now, at the bottom down here, there is a spring that's in there, and there should have been a rubber gasket of some type, O-ring, and I don't see that. So I didn't have, there should have been a rubber gasket in here, and I didn't have that. So I'm wondering, that black stuff that I saw in the bottom of the bowl when I took this apart, I'm wondering if my ring has just disintegrated over time, and that's what's probably might be what that black stuff was. All right, now the next thing we're going to do, and I told you about, is that there's some O-rings that there's one around here that goes into where it connects into the engine block, and there's another ring or gasket here that connects the bottom of the bowl to the carburetor, and we're going to want to remove that. All right, so let me go ahead and get this cleaned up. Okay, we're just going to reach down in there like so, and then this should come right out. There we go. We're going to take that out. Okay. So when I remove the gasket from the bowl of the carburetor, it looks as if somebody has worked on this carburetor before, and it looks as if there's some kind of sealant, silicone on here to seal that. And I'd rather go ahead and get a new gasket for this. So I may have to order that. I'm not sure how long it's going to take to come in, but I don't like the condition of this gasket. So I'll go on the internet and see if I can order one. Now, while I'm waiting on the new gasket to come in, I'm going to go ahead and soak all of these parts in carburetor cleaner. Now, I will not include the float. I don't want it to, I don't know how old the plastic is, and if we're going to put it in some cleaner, I don't want it to start eating away at it. But all of the other parts, I will go ahead and put in there and clean. I'll soak the carburetor several hours, and then I'll come back through with some carb cleaner and clean it all out. All right, so let me go ahead and do that and bring you back once I get it all cleaned up. All right, it's been 2 days since I was last working on this. I was waiting on a replacement part to come in. I could actually get a whole carburetor kit for this particular model for about 12 bucks, and I've been waiting on it to come in, and it's just going to take 7 to 10 days. So I'm kind of getting a little anxious, want to put this back together and see if it is a carburetor issue that I'm having. So if it doesn't run, I'll take it back off and then use the rebuild kit. But if it does work, then nothing lost, right? All right, so let's put this back together so that we can put it back on the bike itself. So the first thing we're going to start with is the main jet. And the main jet goes right here, and what we're going to do is just finger tighten that, and then we're just going to snug it up. Now remember, this is brass, so you don't want to get anything too big on there to where it's going to burr it out. Now that we have that on there, we'll put the actual main jet itself, and again, we're just tightening these down until they're just snug. Next, we're going to put on the low speed jet. Now what this is this is what's going to control it when you're at the lower speeds instead of the high ones. This controls the high speed, this controls the low speed. And these just get snugged down. Now the next one we're going to put in is called the idler jet. Now there is a spring that goes on there, so make sure that you put the spring onto the jet itself. Now I thought that there was a rubber gasket that should have been on there, but in my particular case there is a small metal washer that goes on there. And so we'll insert this here. Now remember, this was the jet that was not completely cinched all the way down like the other two, and that we actually had to take this until it stopped, come back, I said an eighth, it's not quite that, and then one full turn. There's a half and there's a full turn, and now that jet is exactly as it was when we took it out. All right, so we have that on there. The next thing we want to do is we want to put the float together. So here's the float. Here is my and then now we need to make sure that that gets seated right in this hole right here. Okay, we're going to put this on here and then make sure that it's seated. Now we're going to come back with our pin and try and line that up. And it should just push right in just like that. Okay? And so now that's on there. All right, so I've got the gasket onto the bowl, and I've got everything put back together in the main body and checking the float, making sure that it bounces. The last thing we need to put on is this main jet bonnet, I think it's called. I'm not exactly sure what that part is. Now, to make it fit, there is a gap here in the bowl that will fit around the idle jet, and I'm just going to kind of put it in here just like so. Okay, now that's together. Now we'll just take our 3 screws and put those back in. Now for this, I'm not going to tighten them down until I get all 3 at least 3/4 of the way in. Then I'll start snugging this down. Now you should not have to put any kind of gasket sealer between the two pieces, but hopefully I won't have any problems with leakage. Okay, so that's all 3 of those screws are in. Now let me just go ahead and give them one final snug. All right, now we can go ahead and put on our hoses. So we have a hose here on the side that's a discharge. I'll squeeze that on. And then we also have a hose connection on the bottom that this hose will actually get wrapped or pushed through the chassis. And then the last hose is our main fuel going in right here. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, and this line here will fit in. Now I will say that on this fuel filter here, I did flush it out. It's clean, so I did not replace that. There was no problems with that. It was passing fluid. or fuel. So I'm gonna put this part on here. That just snaps on like that. And there we have it. The carburetor is completely put back together. All right, let's put it back on the bike and let's see if she starts up. All right, so I got the carburetor reinstalled, and I've hooked up a temporary gas tank, just a bottle with a hose on it that goes into the carburetor. And to be honest, I've already started it. It took a few pulls, I think, just to kind of get it through in there, but it started up, I think, by the third, maybe the fourth pull. I do have a problem with my battery though. It will not auto start with the electronic ignition. When I turn it on, nothing. However, when I go to pull start it, it starts right up. So let me position this camera so I can go ahead and get this started for you. Guys, we have got the three-wheeler going again. Hope you learned something. Hope this was something you enjoyed. If you'd like to see more things like this, let me know. Until the next video, take care and God bless.